Good evening, friends. Stephen Benoon here with Israeli News Live, and I think we have a very interesting broadcast set up for you this evening. The rise of Nimrod's kingdom, the Antichrist himself, if it ends up being Nimrod, as I did a video recently sharing that type of information with you, the resurrection of Nimrod, and sharing some of the intel that I had on that. And then as I begin to put together, I was actually working on the Silk Road. And as I got to studying the Silk Road, I could not help but realize the whole Silk Road initiative, this new world order, this new economic powerhouse, is basically reviving Nimrod's kingdom itself. So I'm really taken back by it, and I'm going to share some things with you, how this has been moving along, who's behind it, why Israel is playing a major role in the Silk Road initiative, the One Belt, One Road initiative. Xi Jinping, they say it's his vision. It's not really his vision, but they've allowed it to be like his vision. But this has everything to do with establishing Nimrod's kingdom. And so I want to share that with you. Bear with me a little bit. I'm trying to make this a little bit better for you guys. So I've also taken the time to do a little bit of work with my OBS platform here, where I can split the screen for you and yet at the same time show you things that are going on. Now, this right here, what you're looking at, is the ancient Silk Road. And this is actually the map that they drew up on this website here as part of Nimrod's kingdom that he had built there. If you remember, Nimrod right there, let me just see if I can show that to you guys here. It's a little tricky here with the mouse here for me still yet, so just bear with me. But right in this part of the map here, right? There we go. As we, I can only zoom in, let's see, it zooms in one time with a click there. Right there in Iraq, south of Baghdad, was where Nimrod's kingdom was built. And this is where initially the dark red part of the line there is where the Babylonian kingdom built their empire. It is also, as I shared with you guys not too long ago in this video that I did, I'll kind of come up here, just want to make sure I don't mess up anything. The resurrection of Nimrod, I was sharing with you the intel that was given to me about the body of Nimrod that was found, of course, in Iraq. That's why we went to war with Iraq. We went there to gain the body of Nimrod. In fact, if you, I know when they did Hillary Clinton's emails that were leaked out, the Gilgamesh, which is Nimrod, she was, one of her emails, she's requesting the information about this. And of course, I knew that back before the invasion of Iraq, she was there at the White House meeting then President Bush, very much a part of that. One of the advisors of Bush had told me about those stories there. And then I shared with you how that when they discovered Nimrod's body, he was roughly 7.5 feet tall, had 2 rows of teeth like the Kandahar giant. And I know from the Kandahar giant was brought back here to the United States. His body was DNA tested. They actually compared his DNA to that DNA of the Kandahar giant, that and Nimrod's, and they are genetically connected. So it is believed to be that the Kandahar giant, which they consider to be a Nephilim, which is about 11 feet tall, was and is a genetic descendant of Nimrod. I don't know what to think about these things. I know that Nimrod's body is there, and just bear with me. I should have already by now gone back here and switched the screens here, but it's a bit of a challenge for me to figure out how this stuff here works. So just kind of bear with me here a little bit, guys, as I try to figure out how to navigate all this. And but anyway, Nimrod's body was, as I said, they didn't discover it, when Saddam Hussein announced that they had discovered the body of Nimrod. We created a pretext for war to go there and to retrieve this body. mainly because there were ancient documents that the government had about Nimrod. He's supposed to have the knowledge about the library and the Sphinx. That's an important aspect. There's supposed to be some type of technology to be able to overcome a battle that we're going to be facing with quote unquote Planet X reptilians that will be coming. And so this had a lot to do with that, and they wanted to resurrect his body. I was also told in one of the meetings that I was in that CERN, that with the use of CERN and going into multi-dimensions there, that they were able to, they contacted an entity that claims to be the spirit of Nimrod. And of course, they want to put that spirit in the very body of Nimrod and resurrect that body. A soul transference, so to speak there. Speaking of that, there's actually, if I'm not mistaken, let me just see if I got this. I forget exactly where I have this at, but let's see if I can find it here. I've got some photos here, different Dead Sea Scrolls, and all right. So I was able to find it here. I actually had photographed this here. Now this is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and let me just let's see. Let me see if I can get a hold of this here real quick, and let's see. We'll bring it back down. See if I can actually see which fragment I am in on this. I'll just blow it up, come down. 1QP Hab. This is from the book of Habakkuk. It's in Cave 1. All right, it's where it was found at. And this is in column 2 of the fragment. It may not be as clear for you guys on your screen there. So let's see. We're going to take and we're going to blow this up on the entire screen so you guys can see this a little better. And that way there. Now, all right, so let me get control of this. Like I said, just bear with me here. It takes me a little bit of work to learn how to operate this mouse here and remember which way to go here. All right, so let's see here. I am get it as big as I can. I know it's a little bit blurry on this thing because I don't have a very super good image there. All right, let's start around verse 7. When they hear all that is going to come upon the last generation from the mouth of the priest, to whom God gave into his heart discernment to interpret all the words of his covenant, the prophets whom by their hand God enumerated all that is going to come upon his people, and upon, a little blank spot, for now I am raising up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation. Its interpretation concerns the Kedim. Now, this is where the priest of when they wrote this part of the Dead Sea Scrolls were commenting on it. It says, who are swift and strong in battle, so as to destroy many. In the dominion of the Kedim and the wicked ones, notice that, they will not be faithful to the statutes of God, who will go through the breadth of the land to take possessions of dwelling places that are not theirs. Now, I realize we could take that, and there it is right there in Hebrew for you as well. We could take that and we could say, oh, well, it's just talking about houses. But could it be talking about the human body? To take possessions of dwelling places that are not theirs. The Kedim, my friends, are not what you think they are. All right? They are just not what you think they are. They are demonic entities. When we look at the book of, I believe it's Joel, right? When you go to look at the book of Joel, you will find out real quick like that in the book of Joel, and let's take a peek. Let's take a quick peek. I don't have the book of Joel up here, but I'll put it up here for you real quick. Okay, let's go to the book of Joel, and I believe it's chapter 2. Okay, right? Remember this right here? A great people, a mighty, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after them, even to the years of many generations. A fire devours before them, behind them a flame blazeth. The land is a garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, nothing escapes them. The appearance of them is the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so do they run. That's some big guys. I mean, big old guys. If you know anything about reptilians would look almost like a horse on the hind two legs. They're about 9 foot tall and just enormous. That, or let's even go even further. Let's back up. What if it's the Nephilim like the Kandahar giant we're facing? What if that's the real Kedim? So I don't want to be doctrinally just singling this down only to reptilians. I've used that expression before because I have a friend of mine that has dealt with a reptilian face to face. So I know what they look like. And the description that he gave me is very much like if you were dealing with a horse on its hind two legs. But then again, the Kandahar giant, that's not a whole lot different, right? Look at this guy, 11 foot tall. You know, be like a horse on its hind two legs as well. And Nimrod, the reestablished kingdom, the reestablished Silk Road Initiative, the Babylonian Empire, that's what this New World Order is bringing about. Now, let's take, and just as a reminder, actually before I play Netanyahu, let me go to, let's play Netanyahu first. Got to do it this way. We're going to play General Wesley Clark first here. Let me make sure our volumes are up. Maybe get a little bit brighter on the screen there. Everything seems to be up. I'm hoping it's going to record good for you here. In fact, I may have to switch that audio. Well, I know what I'll do. It's going to actually play because I'm using a split screen monitor here and behind me here so that I can kind of control this, make a little bit better quality for you guys. So I got to play it back there, I think. So let's just see. Hopefully it'll pick up okay. Let's listen to General Wesley Clark here.
After 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail."
All right. Now, if you notice, General Wesley Clark, they didn't know why. As I told you, though, we went to war over the body of Nimrod. But who's behind this? Who's behind why we go to war with Iraq? Who's helping to promote this? Let's listen to this here. Now, follow me closely through this entire broadcast. You don't want to miss anything here. And I'm doing my very dead level best to disseminate this to you to where it really begins to make sense. All right, so we got to follow every little pattern, every little evidence that by God's grace, I believe I've put together here for you tonight between intel, scriptures, Dead Sea Scrolls, all kinds of things, all right? So let's look and see, what did Prime Minister Netanyahu say when they were pushing us to war with Iraq? Let's take a listen right here.
If you look at those who harbor terrorists and those who support terrorists,
I guess I was looking for a connection between September 11th and my understanding why we went to the Taliban is there was a connection there. They were harboring somebody that we believed did the act on September 11th.
Yes, that's the first reason why you did it.
Now you're going to take me from September 11th to Iraq somehow?
Yes, but I'm saying something else. I'm saying the connection is not whether Iraq was directly connected to September 11th, but how do you prevent the next September 11th? That is, you have here a system or a subset of the international system that simply disavows any constraints on the use of power. It has fueled these handful of regimes, and the terrorist organizations that they harbor are fueled by a terrible anti-Western zealotry, a militancy that knows no bounds, doesn't respect any force, knows no limits to the use of power.
All right. So Netanyahu is working on his pretext for war and pushing that. But why Israel? Why would Israel be wanting us to go to war with Iraq? Really, Iran has been Netanyahu's big thing, right? But back in the, what is this, 2002, Netanyahu is pushing us to go to war with Iraq. All right. Let's take a quick peek then at an email, and I need to see because I had to redact some of this part of this email that I have here. So let me find it. I'm going to go into this in just a minute. This was written by Ethan, a good friend of mine, an economist, and this also played majorly in why I went into this. I do want to come back to that in just a moment there. This was an email I received several years ago, and from a good friend in Israel, and we were discussing the technology that is being used by a very secretive company in Israel. And again, watch the connections, and then I'm going to start connecting it biblically as well as we go here, and then we'll continue to build on this Silk Road, one road, one Silk Road initiative. So he says, Benoon. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of words that are misspelled in here, but it's done intentionally. Okay. At night, I talked to the man and I'm going to fill in the right words for you, that was doing the experiments in genetics on these entities. He explained that Ashkenazi and Cohen genes are what they are looking for to research and connect that person up with their machines. Apparently, they think or know that Moses' line and a line that comes from Ashkenazi can connect with these entities, whatever they are. By the way, he already said in another email, and I've shared it with you before, that these are alien entities with 9,000 plus IQs. That's the way he described them. They get info and code that gives them technology or code or information is directly downloaded into a person's brain, and they just know the information. People also die in these experiments. It is dangerous. They are also somehow harnessing the raw genetics and getting information from that. Don't know if they are cloning or can read the genetics with some sort of reader. He told me they got genetics from many old graves and tombs, powerful people, historical people. And I couldn't quite, let's see, or the giant Nephilim genetics. Are the people, and they want the giant Nephilim genetics. He told me they got alien genetics, whatever that actually is, I don't know. All right. If I understand correctly here, the Nephilim genetics and the alien genetics are connected. But also, the Ashkenazi connection to the entities, they're also connected. And if you really pay attention to what he's saying, basically Ashkenazi, the Kohanim, and the Nephilim and the aliens are all connected genetically, and this is why they need them. They actually wanted him, by the way, because he had a genetic sequence that was very important to them. He goes on to say in the last part of the letter, when he heard, talking about the guy that he knows there, that I worked in Antarctica, or whatever it was where we were at, he asked me a lot of questions. Also, he is interested in my bloodline and genetics just because of the type of conquistador Zionist outlaw that I am. He was convinced I had genetic code he wants to work with. I declined because I'm not doing the drugs or being hooked up to a machine that interacts with my genetics or spirit. God bless you, my friend. I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't. So, but notice the important and the relevancy. See, that do not know if they're cloning or can read the genetics with some sort of reader. He told me they got genetics from many old graves and tombs of powerful people, historical people. What I can say, the giants are Nephilim genetics. He told me they are, they're not, maybe it's not alien genetics, whatever that actually is, I don't know. But as you look at the beginning of the letter, there's a connection to the Ashkenazi genes or what they are looking for to research and connect that person up with their machines. Apparently they think or know that Moses' line and a line that comes from Ashkenazi can connect with these entities, whatever they are. Wonder why? You ever wonder why? Well, let's take a peek and we'll see why. All right. Well, actually, let's just stay in line right here with this. Let me go back. Let's go back, because I think one of the Dead Sea Scrolls pieces here I have would be on that line there. Okay, yes. Here we go right here. This is in 4Q 396, 397. Vineyard with two species. It's quoting, they're talking about scripture there. Because they are holy. Now this is actually a commentary. And it's actually a commentary on the writing of Ezra. But the sons of Aaron are the holiest of the holy. And you know that part of the priest. Now notice though, that's part of the priest. So it doesn't mean that all the priests did this, but part of them did. And of the people, because there were leaders and the priests, mingle and they unite each other and defile the holy seed and also their own seed, the fornications, and because. So it just kind of stops right there. I'm going to show you this in Hebrew, because this also kind of goes back to where I said with Rabbi Tovia Singer, when Tovia says that there's no such word as seeds plural, and he kind of makes fun of Paul because of that. And I'll tell you what, we really, for the sake of making sure you all can see this clearly, there it is right there. I have the arrow pointing to the word zarim, et zarim, okay, which is seeds plural. All right, it's not a singular. So when he actually says that they have mingled their seed, that would be in the case right here, zara, the seed singular, hakodosh, ve'af, okay, the holy seed. They corrupted the holy seed because Israel was supposed to be that pure bloodline. And then it also talks about how they corrupted their own seed. Now He's still got Christ through the lineage there, but the thing is, they had mixed their seed, and what did they do by mixing that seed is they actually did what they should not have done. And of course, I want to bring you back to that now. We'll go to the scripture on that in Ezra. This is where Ezra 9. Actually, yeah, let me go to Ezra 9 here. Now, when these things were done, the princes drew near unto me, saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the peoples of the lands. Notice in green, doing according to their abominations. What was the abominations of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, Ammonites, and Moabites, etc., right? What was that abomination? Do you remember? Let me I'll take you real quick. I'll use that scripture, Joel, so we don't get too many places up here real quick. What is it? Numbers chapter 18, if I'm not mistaken. This is where we find out, remember Joshua goes over. I believe this is where this is at. They're spying out the land. Is that the right place? Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. Let's just see what I have highlighted here. Maybe it's in that part there. Okay, no, it's not. Let me see. Let me back up there. Was it Numbers 18 or Numbers 21? That's the fiery serpents. I'm looking at the giants. So the main thing is you guys already know. You know the scripture, and I can't, for right off the top of my head, can't remember what scripture that was in. Maybe it's Leviticus 18. I don't think so though either. No, I don't think so there. Anyway, we know this. We know the story biblically where they go in there, that and Joshua, they see the giants in the land. The land was overtaken by Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, but the giants were there. They said we look like grasshoppers next to them. They were afraid to do anything. And so they never did do anything, and so because of their fear of that, you know what? I can't. We just cannot. It's too important. It's too important. Let's go ahead and pull it up. I got to know where this is at, and we can just pull up. Maybe look it up with the word grasshoppers. I probably spelled that word wrong, didn't I? Okay, let's see here. And let's see. Spied. Maybe I can pull it up that way there. Spied. Exodus 2, spied an Egyptian. Let's see. Joshua spied out the country. Going to the heart of the house. Okay, no, not that one there. Oh, wow. I tell you what, we'll use Joshua and Caleb. Because they were, there we go, Numbers. All right, and son of Nun, Joshua, the son of Nun. Surely died in the wilderness and left a man of them to save. Went to search. Okay, here we go. Maybe that's where we're at there. Let's just see here. And the men of the Moses sent to search the land, who returned, made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing up the slander upon the land. Even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land died by the plague, right? Now, still though, I'm looking for where. Let's see. Just bear with me just for a minute, friends. I really want to find the right spot on this here. Okay, maybe it's Numbers 13 here where they talk about it. Yeah, there being strong or weak, few or many. The land is they dwell, whether it is good or bad. Cities, okay. All right, let's just do giants. Here we go. Numbers 13:33. That's where we need to be at. So let me pull that back up there. Numbers 13:33. Edit all that out. Howbeit that the people that dwell in the land are fierce, and the cities are fortified, very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. Amalek dwelleth in the land of the south. The Hittite, the Jebusite, the Amorite dwell in the mountains. The Canaanite dwell by the sea, along by the side of Jordan. And Caleb stilled the people toward Moses and said, we should go up at once and possess it, for we are able to overcome it. But the men that went up said, we are not able to go up against the people of that. They are stronger than we. And they spread an evil report of the land they had spied out of the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have passed to spy it out is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw are men of great stature. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come of the Nephilim. Now, if you remember what I taught you guys a long time ago about this, and I need to share this with the big screen for you guys so you can really see this. All right. Now, do you remember what we discussed on this before right here? See where it just popped up there? Or actually right here. Et ha-Nephilim. Notice the spelling. See that extra yod right there? The word Nephilim is down here in green. He nun fe lamed yod mem. Here it's he nun fe yod lamed yod mem. There was a difference in spelling. Why? Okay? Visham voenu et ha-Nephilim. There we saw et ha-Nephilim. We saw the fallen ones, the sons of Anak. And Anak, though, comes from min ha-Nephalim. Not Nephilim, but Nephalim. They put the vowels in the wrong place when the rabbis were doing their deal, hundreds of years ago. They put these vowels in, and they assume that it's the same, even though it's spelled different. Moses didn't spell it different for no reason. Moses spelled it different because Enoch is from the fallen angels, Nephalim, but they saw the sons. They actually saw the sons of Enoch, so in other words, Anak, his father's a fallen angel. I mean, can you wrap your head around that one, right? I mean, who could wrap their head around that? That's nuts, right? I mean, it seems to be nuts anyway. Enoch, literally, his father is a fallen angel, and this is after Genesis 6. After Genesis 6. And so we got a major issue going on here. And then, what do we have here? We have, as I said to you in Ezra 9, the abominations of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, which were all just mentioned in that scripture, was that they mingled their seed. Remember what God got angry with Israel over that as well. I think that's in the book of Hosea. Let me just see here real quick for you. Yeah, right here. But they, like men, have transgressed the covenant. They have dealt treacherously against me. Gilead is a city of them that work iniquity. It is covered with footprints of blood. And as troops of robbers wait for a man, doth the company of priests. They murder in the way towards Shechem. Yea, they commit enormity. That word right there, zima, enormity as they translate it, is lewdness, sexual perversion. Who does that? A company of priests. What did Ezra say? It was the priest and the peoples of the land there. They committed that. And what did they do? We didn't finish it. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the peoples of the lands. Lands plural, not Babylonians. Of the Perizzites, Jebusites, Amorites, Moabites, Egyptians, etc. The hand of the princes and rulers has been first in this faithlessness. Think about it. Think about it. So when we read a letter such as what that I got from Israel, actually the other way, right? When we read a letter like this, and they're talking about the genetics and the entities, the Nephilim, are all seemingly connected somehow. It's no wonder. They are connected. And it is priests. It is Ashkenazi. It is the Kohanim. But you have to remember, this is where the Pharisees come from. They overthrew the true priesthood and overtook it because why? They were the Nimrod seed line. And they had been mingled into that seed line. They had been mixed up into that seed line I mean, this is absolutely nuts, isn't it? I mean, you just can't get no crazier. All right? Now, before I go into that scripture there, let me come back over here. So, this is why Netanyahu would be pushing for a war for Iraq. They know they need to get the body of Nimrod out of that country. All right? This is already determined. This is why General Wesley Clark and the guy that he met there at the Pentagon doesn't know why we're really going to war with Iraq, because not everybody knew why we're really going to war with Iraq. And in the process of all this, which Kerry reminds Congress, Netanyahu advised U.S. to invade Iraq. Okay, just for a side note there. Okay, but besides all this, this is why Israel and China are working together on the Silk Road Initiative. Now, of course, Israel kind of lay low at first. They're building the infrastructure for a new world order and for Nimrod's Babylonian kingdom to be revived. That's what they're doing. All right, and let's just look at some of the things here in this article. You know, as I get into this part here, before I do, let me jump back over here. Ethan's email, or not email, but an email I got from Ethan, a friend of mine there, an economist, brilliant man. He was giving me some of his review of things that are going to happen. One of the things was Ukraine he believes will become part of the EU, which will justify why Russia will and the United States will have to go into World War III. He says here, analogous to the strategy used by Allied naval forces during World War II against the Axis powers, China has strategically and discreetly acquired maritime dominance of most, if not all, of the oceanic trade routes to the Western world. China is also currently in possession of the largest naval fleet in the world. Now, I think he meant World War III on this, not World War II. Couple of things I want to note. Suez Canal. Egypt's impending default on development loans issued to them by China will result in their forfeiting of the state-owned Suez Canal and its operations to China as collateral for the default loans. No surprise, because Israel is working directly with China. All right, so you got to keep this in mind. I'll make this sure big enough because I don't have it on the full screen for you right now. South Africa, having utilized mercenaries to disrupt the political landscape and create societal unrest throughout South Africa, China has successfully claimed jurisdiction over the country's territorial waters, providing them the ability to restrict traffic into the Atlantic from both north and south routes around through the African continent. He's citing Reuters on that, all right? Australia and New Zealand. China successfully infiltrated the Australian and New Zealand political arenas, likely originating back in the early 2010s, and the most apparent evidence appearing in 2015, with Australia passing legislation to confiscate and prohibit ownership of nearly all firearms. New Zealand and passed similar legislations following the Christchurch shooting in 2019. Authoritarian measures implemented to enforce during the we won't use that word, were additional evidence of this infiltration, the inspiration for these tactics of enforcement now being demonstrated almost identically across Hong Kong by Chinese health authorities. Coinciding with South Africa, China has also obtained jurisdiction over Australia's territorial waters, restricting trade routes through the Pacific as well, citing NBC News on that one. Russian cooperation and coordination with China. Russia will likewise restrict any access to potential alternative routes through the Arctic Sea region. We just keep some of these things here in mind. All right, the reason why I'm bringing these things up, Israel is using all the world powers to bring about this global dominant takeover. All right? It's a global dominant takeover. And you've got to recognize that. Let's take a look at this article here. All right, just so you can get a little feel for this. All right, let's see. We'll blow this up a little bit. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the OBR a very well-defined grand strategy. Panel discussion, Israel's China Policy Conference, Herzliya, Israel, 29th of September in 2016. Xingdong, Deputy Director of Shanghai-based Academy for World Watch, views OBR as merely one among various policies rather than a grand strategy per se, personal communication. On the 15th of September 2016, Professor Yitzhak Shakor, Israel's leading Chinese specialist, calls it no more than a slogan, not a strategy, nor even a plan. It is an initiative, a suggestion, a preliminary proposal. So far, just words. All right, let's scroll down a little bit here. Strategic implications and opportunity. China-Israel bilateral trade currently hovers around $12 billion, and bilateral cooperation spans a wide gauntlet of fields, leveraging heavily on China's markets, financial capital, and manufacturing capacity on the one hand, and Israel's technology aid in areas including water treatment, agricultural, cyberspace technology, medical equipment on the other, while extensive and promising bilateral cooperation already in the making for years did not require BRI as a necessary precondition, with BRI now at play. Three implications and opportunity arise as it transcends the bilateral economic cooperation, infrastructure, trade, interconnectivity, and closely related information, Silk Road, and Israel's potential as mediator between the world's two leading powers. Notice that. Information Silk Road, Israel's potential as mediator between the world's two leading powers. The nexus of infrastructure, transport, communications, transmission routes paves the way for an unprecedented degree of interconnectivity, embracing community already exceeding 60 nations. China's infrastructural footprint in Israel began with the Carmel tunnels near Haifa in 2007, 6 years before BRI's formal announcement, yet it is the projected Medred Railway linking Eilat and Ashdod, reportedly to be constructed by China, that could transform Israel into a land bridge along the maritime Silk Road. What China's new Silk Road means for Israel, Diplomatic Courier, September 1st, 2016. All right, so that's just to give you a little tidbit of what's going on right there, okay? So let's look also here. The Chinese believe that the Jews control America. Is that a good thing? I want you to see how China loves Jewish people, and they don't look at this as a negative connotation, but positive. It's kind of important we see this. But in China, where Jews are widely perceived as clever and accomplished, they are meant as compliments. When they say things like the world's wealth is in America's pockets, Americans are in Jews' pockets, would rightly be seen as an alarming other context. But in China, where Jews are widely perceived as clever and accomplished, they are meant as compliments. Scan the shelves in any bookstore in China, and you are likely to find the best-selling self-help books based on Jewish knowledge. Most focus on how to make cash. Titles range from 101 Money-Earning Secrets from Jews, Notebooks to Learn to Make Money with the Jews, right? While it is true that the Chinese have met are fascinated by rather than fear the Jews, their assertions make me deeply uncomfortable, the author of this article writes here. Clarissa Seabog is who wrote that article. The point, though, that I'm wanting to make here that is important, that I'm trying to make sure that you guys see, is the fact that it is a cooperation. All right? It's a cooperation. And Israel has got their foot in everything. This is one of those books, The Last Kings of Shanghai, the revival of Jewish dynasties that helped create modern China. I didn't mention that book yet, but that is a book that you need to know about right there. I haven't read it, but I read enough about this book here that also shows you the influence. This is where I got it from right here. It's from this article here by Benjamin Ivory. It said, author, A Hole in the Heart in the World Being Jewish in Eastern Europe and Broken Alliance, the turbulent times between Blacks and Jews in America. Jonathan Kaufman teaches the Northeastern University in his new book, The Last Kings of Shanghai, the revival of Jewish dynasty that helped create modern China. Tells of two Iraqi Jewish families of business magnates, the Sassans and the Qataris, who dominated Chinese life for almost 200 years until the advent of communism. And by the way, the advent of communism also was a heavily influenced takeover by another Jewish family. Jonathan Kaufman, what is interesting is that you had this group of Jews who came from Baghdad. For many American Jews, the images of the Jews are tied up with Eastern European Jews, Fiddler on the Roof or the Rothschilds, how people rose from the ghetto, but these were Jews of Babylon. Notice that right there. They were Jews of Babylon. Isn't that interesting that they actually speak about the Jewish people that went there initially, right? And he talks about the families right there, the Sassans and the Qataris, who were dominant Chinese life for almost 200 years, before communism, and they're considered Babylonian Jews. Again, another very striking, very odd connection, right? Now, did Iraqi Jewish business leaders ever regret importing? Well, that was the other thing too. They got into the importing opium into the 19th century China. No, I don't think so. When you talk to the families now, they'll say, we didn't know it was that bad. They knew it was bad. The Sassans had to dismiss some of their Chinese employees because they were addicted to opium. So yeah, they did know it was bad. Also goes on to say, I think it's a little more complex than that. The politics of Shanghai were different from the politics of Europe. Japan had conquered China, and unlike the Germans, did not believe that they needed to destroy the Jews. They felt that the Jews were immensely powerful, but if they got the Jews on their side, they could be influential. Sasson saw that you could charm the Japanese or even con them into protecting these Jewish refugees from Europe. I mean, you get into some crazy stuff here, right? Also, Lawrence Qadari, industrial titan of Hong Kong, admired the Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping, supported authoritarian rulers during 1989 Tiananmen Square protests. When Deng ordered troops in to crush the uprising, Qadari said, too much democracy is not the best thing for this area of the world. There must be controls. Did rich Iraqi Jewish families all have this totalitarian mindset? Think about it. The whole point is here, communism, just like it did in Russia, it was brought in by Lenin, who was a Jewish trained. He was Jewish. Same thing with China, controlled by Babylonian Jews to start with, and then later brought in the communism through other Jewish powerful influences there. In fact, this article here would be worth reading here. It was Communist China was created by the Rothschilds and their agents. In October 1st, 1949, Mei Zedong declared the founding of the People's Republic of China in Tiananmen Square, Beijing. He was funded by the Rothschilds, created communism in Russia, and also the following Rothschild agents. Solomon Adler, a former United States Treasury official who was a Soviet spy, Israel's Epstein, the son of Jewish Bolshevik imprisoned by the Tsar in Russia for trying to foment a revolution there, and Frank Coe, a leading official of the Rothschild-owned IMF. Jews were behind the rise and power of Mao Zedong and the communist dictator China, who has tortured and murdered tens of millions of Chinese, mostly Christians, during his brutal reign. Sidney Shapiro, an American Jew, was charged of China's propaganda organ. Another Jew, Israel Epstein, was Mao's minister of appropriations, which was finance there. So I just kind of give you some of that information there. I'll move that off the map here though, so we can move on here. So around the Jewish world, as China's economy grows, so does the Jewish community and Chabad. Another thing that you need to know, all right, this website here just goes to show that the bigger Israel has gotten control, or the Jewish people have gotten control of China, so has especially the Chabad organization. And just remember, just so you know, let's make sure we keep this in line here. Chabad world leaders. Let me just do it like that. And just do images for you, right? Just do some images here, right? It would just be crazy. Let's see, I can't quite tell who's in the background there. The German regional capital right there is that one there. Let me just use the word instead, presidents. Because Chabad is very much into the political arena. There's former President Trump. You have right there, I think that's still Trump there, signing Noahide laws. You have here Barack Obama signing Noahide laws. all these different agreements and stuff. George Bush signing the Noahide laws. And these are all Chabad members. This is not, see, not every Hasidic Jew is this way, but these are Hasidic Jews. Or excuse me, these are Chabad Jews, not just Hasidic, but Chabad specifically. All right, there again, Obama with the, again, a Chabad rabbi. All right, and it's no different. Doesn't matter who it is. If it's Putin, all right, Putin, even though Putin will tell you he knows that the West is controlled by Jewish elite, he's allowed the Chabad to come in and control him and doesn't realize it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So it's troubling no matter which way you go. All right, this is the whole point of that. All right, so let's move on and let me find where we left off here. Because we do need to move on. What China's New Silk Road means for Israel. And again, another article here, January 20th, China signed an agreement with Djibouti, allowing it to build its first naval port outside of China. With a population of 900,000, Djibouti is one of the poorest countries in the world. However, its geographic location in the Horn of Africa, the gate of the Red Sea, is of great strategic importance to China. But if you remember, the One Belt, One Road Silk Initiative, right? This is where, by the way, and let me just see if let me find the map on this here. I need to see if I can find somewhere. I thought I had this up there. Let's do it like here. Silk Road routes today. You need to be able to see all the here we go right here. I think this is one of the, okay. This is because you have to understand this is what's going to be the control routes here. Notice China is in there. Israel's there. They got Northern Africa. They've got the Red Sea. Notice the Horn of Africa. Notice Saudi Arabia, Southern Europe. They've also, in another map, you'll see Russia connected. United States is never in any of these maps, by the way. Never. All right. So when we come back over here and we see that in the article here that China is building a base there and also building up the infrastructure of this little bitty poorest country in the region. Why? It's going to be right across from the city of Neom. You guys remember Neom? I did the, let's see. Neom AI City for Pagan Worship, the video I did right here. I go into that. I go into about how that they are wanting to, the Saudis are working with the Israelis to make a tri-state. And the reason, and I also bring out in here, because right there where the city of Neom is, this is where Moses meets Yahweh there on Mount Sinai. Remember that? So, but it's going to be the AI city. Think about that, the AI city. Think about Nimrod. Think about, keep this in mind. You got to really, I want to keep going back and forth so you really get these things. I don't want anybody to forget this, right? Remember the letter here? All right? It's an AI city, but notice also, it talked to the man who was going to experiments on genetics and these entities. He explained that Ashkenazi Cohen genes are what they are looking for research and connect that person up with their machines. I don't know if you know this or not, but they're actually, even at Darcy, experimenting on doing soul transference into AI robotics. Is that what this is? Apparently they think that somehow, the Moses line and the line that comes from Ashke can connect with these entities, whatever they are. So when I did this video over here on the city of Neom, and Saudi Arabia willing to bring Israel in as part of that, there's something very, very sinister, very ungodly going on. And then, as I shared with you right here, I don't want you to forget it, right? That wasn't the one. Hang on. We'll get the right one here in a second. Here it is. Who go through the breadth of the land, talking about the Kedim, to take possessions of the dwelling places that are not theirs. Could there be a connection with this? You know, I'm asking. I don't know, guys. I don't know the answers to everything. So, this article right here, for example, too, Chinese investment in Israeli technology and infrastructure. China and Israel are majorly cooperating, but they're cooperating so rapidly in so many different areas there that they have to suppress it because they don't want you to know that this is going on. That's the Rand Corporation. Israelis create foreign investment overseas. China targeted. Tel Aviv, American pressure. All right. Let's make the screen bigger here, right? American pressure on Israel helped the government here decide to limit the involvement of Chinese companies in the building infrastructure programs in Israel and otherwise investments in the defense-related programs. Breaking Defense exposed a big concern among the Israeli defense experts last year about the growing Chinese involvement in sensitive projects like the new Haifa port near the Israeli Navy's main base. The Chinese company will build it and manage it for 25 years. This happens, going down to the yellow next, even as China is Israel's second largest trading partner. Okay, their second largest trading partner. And significant foreign investor, the People's Republic of China, have also taken an active interest in collaboration with Israel on innovation and technology, which inspired the establishment of a comprehensive innovation partnership between the two countries. In March of 2017 and 2018, bilateral trade between the countries hit a record of $15.3 billion, up from $51.5 million in 1992. $13.1 billion in 2017, which we cited from the article before. Again, notice Israel's involvement. Okay? This is what's very important. Israel's involvement with these world governments. Because they're the ones building the Babylonian kingdom, Nimrod's revived kingdom. Russia and China's geopolitical offensive in Africa. Russia recently won the Central African Republic CAR in a country strategically located between the Muslim North and the Christian South beyond the advantage of its geographical location. CAR possesses sizable stores of oil, diamonds, gold, uranium resources. The U.S. largely disregarded this development, but it warrants attention. Moscow's efforts in Africa are not limited to CAR. There are signs that its involvement in the continent is set to widen. Indeed, and it has been reported in October of this year, Putin and Egypt's President Abdel Fattah Sisi will convene 50 African leaders at the first ever Russian-African summit in Sochi. There have been reports of the media that Russia intends to increase its presence in at least 13 African countries. Moreover, Russia is increasingly stepping up with trade and business agreements, military sales, cooperation, and political and parliamentary support. All right, now I want you to think about something. Let's go back to this map here. China is building a port here. Saudi Arabia is making the Neom city here. All right. That's going to control right through there. Remember that Silk Road initiative shows that going right up through there, right up to Israel, etc., right? According to General Wesley Clark, remember what General Wesley Clark over here was saying? We're going to take down 7 nations in 5 years. Let's see if we can get that. Let's see if we can pull up to it.
From upstairs, meeting the Secretary of Defense office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Okay. So, sorry about that. That's what he said there. We're going to take out those 7 nations. All right, so let me get back over there where that map is. We were going to take out Syria, Iraq, Iran, Libya, Sudan, right? We're basically taking care of all the northern parts and, of course, the Middle East. Russia is dealing with the southern part of Africa. But at all the while, Israel is manipulating all of them. Remember the video I did recently about Menachem Schneerson, the Rebbe of the Chabad organization that was believed to be the Mashiach by Chabad. He talked about the overthrow of Ukraine and that would become big Israel. Zelensky is talking about Ukraine being big Israel. There's some crazy things, guys, going on everywhere you look. Okay, everywhere you look. On the Neom City video, I did this one right here. Saudi Arabia might recognize Israel because of Neom. We actually did this particular, that was the article I was using there, right? Since then, and this was back what was the date on this article? I don't even remember the date of the article now, but it's been several years ago, right? Since then, now we have flight to Israel crosses Saudi Arabian airspace for the first time since the kingdom opened its skies. So the cooperation is beginning, and more we're seeing things. Israel is signing all kind of agreements with all kind of Arabic nations right now. I don't know if I have anything. I didn't put anything on here. Forget why I brought this up, but anyway, another Silk Road. I know why I brought this up here. This was because in this article here, this is where it shows Nimrod's map. The ancient Silk Road of Nimrod was depicted in here. How the Babylonian, like I said, so what is it? It is a revived Babylonian empire, is exactly what it is. And the Israelis are connected. Not all Israelis, by the way. And please, don't ever misunderstand that. There are a lot of good Jewish people in the world that need to know that Jesus Christ is their Messiah. Plain and simple. They need to know it. But we have to also remember too, though, Jesus did identify that the Pharisees and the scribes, as he says, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves." Now think about that passage right there for a moment, and think about the resurrection of the Babylonian Empire by an elite group of modern-day Pharisees. And they are compassing sea and land, and they're making proselytes to bring about their Babylonian kingdom. And that is what makes them more twofold child more of hell than they themselves. Because all these nations, Russia, China, United States, European Union nations, Zelensky of Ukraine, well, he's already part of the Chabad organization, so he's already a Pharisee, and he is an actor. They're becoming twofold more child of hell than the Pharisees themselves. They're helping Israel to build. Not Israel, but a select elite group of Kohanim. Because remember, the scripture clearly said it wasn't all of them. It's only a little fragment of them. Right? That's why I say, if you want to do something for the Jewish people, by all means, please, with everything you have. They need to know that Jesus Christ is the Messiah, so they can hear the truth of the gospel, so they can truly hear the gospel that came out of Jerusalem, the true word of God, the restored word of God that came out 2,000 years ago, not their false one that they're going to bring out now. That'll be nothing but an alien, demonic Nephilim doctrine. This is why Jesus says, "Wherefore you be witnesses unto yourselves, that you are the children of them that killed the prophets. Fill you up the measure of your fathers, you serpents, you generation of vipers, how can you escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send to you prophets and wise men and scribes. Some of them you shall kill and crucify, and some of them shall you scourge in your synagogues." Okay? Remember that. And don't forget, Jesus said in Matthew 24, verse 36, "But of that day and hour knoweth no man, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until that day that Noah entered into the ark." And by the way, that is they were cohabitating, Nephilim were cohabitating with women, they were bringing forth hybrid children, and they were eating and drinking human flesh and blood. That was what was really going on, right? Okay, guys, so in closing, just so I make sure I didn't miss anything, I want to just jump back over here real quick, and let's just be sure that we're not missing anything important. No, we got into all this already, the Dead Sea Scrolls and stuff. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen, and I would like to, just thank you, and then also remind you if God lays upon your heart, you want to support the work we do here at Israeli News Live, you can visit our website. We greatly would appreciate that. And you can look right there on the screen. You can donate by mail, the P.O. Box 156, Sunbright, Tennessee. In fact, my wife will be writing our friends that have been supporting our work this weekend. Or you can donate online. And of course, the important thing about donating online is it's fast, it's quick. You just click right there, and it'll go directly to our site there, Dunan Institute of Biblical Research. And you can use any kind of debit or credit card by clicking the second box, or PayPal if you prefer to do that. And another thing, too, that I like to just mention here, and of course, we haven't really gone into that EMP shield. There is all types of protection that is out there. They have it for European type things, solar, wind, generator, whatever it may be. Vehicle was always my big issue for everybody, because if there was an EMP strike, I would not want, especially with the way the world is going right now, I would not want my wife to be in a position to where she could not get home. So that's why I always did that one. And if you use the INL 50 code and apply the coupon, they take off that $50. You guys already know it, so I won't just keep speaking about that. I don't want to bore you with these constant things there to say all that. So, but anyway, I want to thank you for listening, and I trust that this broadcast has been a blessing to you. And be sure to check out our channel, Israeli News Live. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Click the notification bell. For some reason, they don't want to send people notifications. I don't know why. But then also, too, remember iConnectFX.com. This is where you can pick up this video on Israeli News Live. You can pick it up there on Israeli News Live on iConnectFX.com. And you can actually listen to this broadcast in multiple languages. About 7 different languages we can be listened to there. I'm trying to bring that up for you now so you can see that for yourself. I think that's very important that you can do that. And the people there at iConnectFX, they have actually sponsored our foreign language part of the broadcast. You could get your own channel if you wanted to do that. I must have lost my connection to the internet on this. Here we go, right there. But we're Israeli News Live. Norm, if you hit trending, you'll see us up everywhere on there. And but subscribe there. I cannot tell you enough, with all the things that are happening in the world, the attacks, etc., everything. I think it's important more than ever right now that you actually subscribe to our channel there on iConnectFX.com. Also, hopefully tonight, I know it's getting a little bit late. I've been working on this all day, but I do have another video for Patreon I'm wanting to get loaded up for you guys. Just sharing some of the intel things that I find out about. I got a lot of things that I want to share. It's just finding that time to do it. And of course, I have been all day long and putting this video here together. So yeah, see, we're on the top one there right now. How did Ukraine get satellite technology? So Israeli News Live on iConnectFX.com. The links are provided for you in the description below. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your support of the work we do, and God bless you.